Hi, y'all. Hey, Trigger Happy Fam. Hey, Danny.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fantastic today. Actually, I'm in a very good mood. I haven't been in a good mood for like 2 weeks. And now I have come out of the hole like a groundhog. And I'm feeling so much better. I feel
love that.
like my light, happy self.
I love that. I love that energy. It always is good. Like after you've been through like a season where you haven't been feeling so great. And then now you're like, okay, I'm back.
Yeah. And I feel good. And I'm like, I'm leaning into it. You know, sometimes it's like, you don't want to feel too good because you feel like it's not real. Or you feel like, am I really feeling this good? And it's like, no, I'm going to lean into feeling good, even if it's just for a day. I'm gonna let it happen. So that's what I'm doing today.
Absolutely. We're feeling good and we're claiming that.
Yes.
I love that for us. And this particular conversation is one of my favorites because, you know, like I love business. Like I love discussions around business. I love discussions around money. I feel like we don't have them enough.
Yeah.
Especially as women, we get afraid to talk about the money, the business, how we're showing up, the steps that we need to take to make sure that we are creating and building lives that, you know, feel, look, and nourish us financially.
Yeah,
okay?
For sure.
So today's conversation around business and bravery is with Tori Autumn, and she is a conversion copywriter. Now, I've heard of a copywriter before, but never a conversion copywriter. So I'm excited to have this particular conversation because this one will go beyond just the rah, you can do it, work your business, oh, you got it, to okay, let's tap into some of what those very real like apprehensions and fears and things that keep us from being our full selves in business.
Absolutely.
So yes, without further ado, we are going to bring her on to our digital set. Hey, Tori, how are you?
Hey, Tori.
So good to see you, ladies.
It's good to see you as well. We are super excited to have you here with us. Like I said, today's conversation is definitely one that I am super excited about.
Yes.
So we're going to just jump right on in.
Yeah. So, Tori, as Alicia introduced you in your title, a lot of times we get so caught up in those titles and the accolades and the things that we've accomplished and the things that we do. So one of the questions that we ask all of our guests, because we always have such dynamic, multi-hyphenate, do all the things people on this podcast, the one question we always want to ask is, who do you say that you are outside of all those things?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for having me again. I'm just always been a big fan of you all. So to be here just feels like highlight of my year.
Thank you.
Of course. I would say that I help other business owners, particularly women, make money, get to the bag. I love talking about making money. I love talking about different sales strategies that don't feel manipulative or forced.
Mm-hmm.
I'll also say that I'm a caregiver to my mom, and I help her. She has troubles walking, and I really love the title of someone who is healed and healing. Like I always identify as someone who's just always trying to find ways to reach for personal development and also laugh at everything because I find almost everything funny. So I'm a big comedian.
You have to. Life can be tough enough. You got to find every reason to laugh, to enjoy, to explore, especially too as a caregiver, because many times, and I guess if you're a mom, I guess, you are a caregiver all the time. But however, being a caregiver for the person who maybe raised you or the person who is older than you, it is a different experience. I was a caregiver for my grandmother after she had a stroke for a few months, and I never understood that the dynamic, how different it can be, and a lot of the challenges that you can sometimes experience as a caregiver. So to identify and honor the fact that you get to, it felt good to hear, because it's like, like you do get to, because that's not always the case. Sometimes you can't for whatever the reasons, and to be able to really it's an honor if and when you can.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with the laughing, because sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying. Okay. Yes. You just got to laugh your way through it so you can just make it to the next day. So I am a big fan of laughter as well. I need it. It's medicine for me. Yeah. We all need to find more things to laugh about.
Absolutely. And two, one of the things that I always say when it comes to like take every reason to laugh and smile and explore and enjoy, because fear, it really can be so crippling. It can stop you from doing the things that you know are absolutely possible for you, right?
Yeah.
Like it can be crippling, and then it can fuel those flames of like our self-doubt, which sometimes becomes a loudspeaker in our head. But like, what would you suggest is maybe one of the first steps to begin to like overcome our fear of showing up? Because that is one of the hardest things to do when it comes to business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you mean I got to show up? Why?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So the first thing I would recommend is really leaning into the power of one. I had a copywriter mentor who taught me that, you know, she will always say, I'm not self-made, I'm community made. But I really dove into that meaning. And I feel like it's a two-way street. When we are putting our business out there, we are putting our gifts, we are putting something that people need, that people want to experience, that people want some type of transformation in their lives. And so I would start with the power of one. One of the things that I do, because I am super introverted, I feel like we have to be kind of like, you know, extroverted and show up in our business. But behind the scenes, I'm a grandma. I get mad when it's too loud outside after 10 p.m. Yeah. So I have seasons in which I do connection calls, like virtual coffee chats with people, whether it's on LinkedIn or in different small virtual and in-person networking groups I'm in. I don't force myself to talk to everyone, but if I feel like I can be of service, or even of building a relationship with someone, I make an effort to say, okay, between May, June, and July, I'm going to be actively trying to talk to people, because I think sometimes we feel like we have to always meet new people, and we never really get to nurture those relationships that we started back in January. So maybe just segmenting it out is something I think that is reasonable within your capacity. And yeah, I would say that's pretty much
So
it.
what I'm hearing you say is, don't feel like you have to do all the things all at once, all the time.
Yes.
So it's not everything everywhere all the time. What it really is identify maybe what it is that you need to do, or maybe even identify what are the things that you don't like to do. Like you were saying, like you're a grandma, so you don't like all the noise. So, okay, it can be I know these are the things that I don't like to experience, or these are the things that I need. So I'm going to, instead of having to, because you gotta fill your pipeline. If you're in business, filling your pipeline means you gotta have people who buy your stuff.
Yeah.
Like you do. So, okay, it's all right. So maybe I'm going to go out to these networking events or these, these places so that I can start to fill my pipeline, but I'm not going to do it every month for 12 months. Maybe you'll do it every other month, right? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what works for you. And something that it seems like you're an advocate for is being able to show up as who you really are. Like in business, in spaces that seem like you maybe have to dumb yourself down or dim your light so that other people can feel comfortable. Yeah. You're like, absolutely not. I'm showing up as me, and you're going to have to just deal with that. But for a lot of people, that can be really unsettling. We're not really taught that you can be your full self, especially in professional environments. So trying to be normal can force us a lot of times to become method actors. And all of a sudden we speak differently, we code switch, we do all the things to try to become the thing we think we need to be to get what we need to get for people. And there's so many times where a lot of the success that we gain is just from us being ourselves for real. Like we just might one day break character and we're ourselves, and we may say something out of frustration and they're like, wow, that was really great. Like I agree with you. So how did you learn to become comfortable being your authentic self in business? Like what was that process like for you? Because I know for a lot of, especially Black women and Black people, period, we don't always really know how to do that all the time.
Yeah, I love that question. So for me, I went about it finding a group of women who I can truly connect with. And so at first I used to only hang, when I started becoming a copywriter, I used to only hang around copywriters. And then I started like branching out to people who were in life coaching area and different types of marketers and public relations strategists. And with that, I found like my circle, my hype circle.
Your tribe.
Yeah.
Yes. And that has helped a lot, because I don't really think that like feeling safe to be yourself, I don't think that it will truly like go away in every situation, but I know that there are certain things that can help combat those like, unsafe or triggering feelings. And so for me, I like to think of it going back to the community piece. I want this to be a two-way nurturing relationship. I want this. So because of that, it's a gift to myself, and also better for our relationship if I show up as myself, if I show up as goofy or talk about, things outside of business, but things that also fuel me. And I also like to talk about purpose, because there's one thing to make money, but there's also one thing to feel like you're actually doing something powerful. And it's nothing like hearing from someone like, you inspire me. Those things make me feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Especially the two, making sure that you feel safe. Like that's an underrated experience that folks don't realize. Like, hey, it makes it much easier for you to be who you are if you feel safe, not just safe in, whatever location you're in, but also safe in your body.
Yes.
To feel like there's safety there, it helps you to show up the way you need to. And two, like, it can help to break down a lot of those mental blocks, because so many of us do have those mental blocks that are like, well, oh, I'm not good enough, or, oh, I can't do this, or, oh, I don't have enough, or, oh, I'm not ready yet. And it's like, well, what are some of the like specific, this is my, my question for you. What are some of those specific mental blocks like that you have had to face when it comes to like being visible and marketing like your business? And then like, how do you keep rewiring your thinking when you are like, amping yourself up to show up? Because just posting one time on Insta is not marketing. So like, what are some of the ways in which, you continue to rewire your brain to keep showing up?
Yeah. So the first thing is that to your first question about what are some of the blocks. So I've worked with a trauma healing coach before, because I really struggled with showing up, but I knew that copywriting was my thing, like my passion, but I just couldn't put myself out there. And working with her, as well as now transitioning into being a copywriter and working with business owners, especially women of color who are really afraid of putting themselves out there, I found 4 different blocks that come up with a lot of people when it comes to being visible. So the first one is undervaluing their success, like saying, oh, I just got the opportunity because I knew such and such, that type of thing. Struggling with being the center of attention. This could be for a lot of people who are introverted or really shy, like myself. Lacking confidence in their work. So not really feeling like they are a great public relations strategist or a life coach. And then past trauma telling them that it's not safe. Maybe they have tried to put themselves out there and they didn't get the response or the engagement or even the customers that they wanted. And so working through those 4 blocks have helped me in a lot of ways. But some of the things that have helped me was focusing on the power of one again. So I focused a lot on showing up on LinkedIn at first, because the way the algorithm is on LinkedIn, it's not as sensitive. You don't really need to have reels or a lot of pictures to show up. So I focused on putting a lot of valuable content by working with my clients and reading books on copywriting. I said, if I'm going to show up, I want to feel like the best. I want to feel confident in my work, and I have results to back that up. So I focused on that. And then the other thing I focused on was when I didn't know like what type of people to reach out to do collaborations or speaking engagements, I focused on the people who I bought products from. So if I bought this course for someone and I had results, I'm emailing them, letting them know my results. I want to be their testimonial, because it's a two-way relationship. And now all of a sudden I'm valuable to them as they've been valuable to me. And that has given me a lot of confidence to move forward.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that when you can figure that out and determine what kind of value you bring, it makes you a lot more willing to show, because it's not like, oh, you're not just trying to sell this thing that you don't believe in. You found that value within yourself. And like Alicia said, posting on Instagram once a day is not marketing. And a lot of people feel that way. And then when it doesn't work, they get discouraged and they feel like they should quit because, oh, I'm doing the thing that everybody else seems to be doing, but it's not working for me for some reason. Like everybody else made all these millions off Instagram. I'm trying to make my millions. I'm doing what it looks like they're doing, and I'm not getting those same results. So for the people in the back that don't really fully understand, can you just give us a glimpse into what a true marketing strategy should include when preparing a launch? Like you talked about, you post on LinkedIn, you do different things. Like what are some of the ways, what are some of the steps and things that you've done to kind of really prepare a real marketing strategy?
Yes, love this question. So I am always figuring out, where is my ideal client located? Where are they? How can I get my message out to them? And one of the ways that we can't get around is the power of email. We wake up and we check our emails. It's like an addiction, So I'm not only like with conversion copywriting, I specialize in helping people get more sales in emails. So all of the hot buttons, click here, sign up, buy now, all the discounted or limited time things with urgencies on it. That's something that I love to help my clients with. And so with each marketing plan, when I work with someone and they come to me and they say, I don't want to do email, I just want to do social media. And then they're feeling a little confused that they have some people who are in their audience and then some people who aren't, and some people who are not even ready to buy. They're just liking and scrolling, just liking and scrolling. I try to get them to figure out a way to get people off the social media platforms. And like that's one thing, because some people don't really have the capacity to maybe host their own podcast or host their own blog, but that part. Put together a 10-part email sequence and schedule it out, and we could talk about the benefits that your products have, the objections that people may be experiencing, the actual emotions. And copywriting is more an emotional, helping people understand what drives, what motivates people emotionally than logically. Because even with storytelling, if a lot of copywriting that I do has a lot of personality for my clients, but also storytelling, because strong storytelling can move people to want to take action. And
so then I have a question. How would you suggest people begin to craft a good story? So you just said storytelling helps folks to kind of like, to help them push their message out. But that's much easier said than done, especially for people who get it. But in my belief, people don't just buy products and services. Like, okay, that sounds cool. All right, you're a copywriter. All right, you sell body butters, but what else? So how would you begin, or how would you suggest, like, what are maybe 4 steps like people can take to start telling or creating better stories?
Yeah. So good question. One of the things that are really motivating in copywriting is either like pulling in with vision, like letting people imagine how their life or their business would change if they buy something. And then the other part is pushing with pain, which I have mixed feelings about. Sometimes I think it's okay to do it, and sometimes I think we don't need to keep reminding somebody that they have this problem. Like there are other ways you can do it. So for step one with storytelling is figuring out what type of story you want to pull in with the vision, or push with pain a little bit, or agitate the problem. Another one is thinking about your product or your service and why did you create it? Why did you create it? What are some common, like the main characters in your life? How do they play a role in you creating this service? Or even the things that you struggled with? Because a lot of times when we have products or services, we may have been that ideal client at some point. So what were you thinking, and what were the reasons why you wouldn't have bought that? I think actually writing those things out and then pulling the connection pieces about your life, about the main characters in your life, and also the things in your industry that irritate you, that you don't want to do. I think that is really a good way to craft a story, because that shows how you are unique and why people can relate to you.
And people can relate. Yeah, exactly. But I think sometimes the problem with people wanting to tell their story is sometimes they feel like they don't have anything valuable to say.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, who's going to care about my story? What's so interesting about me? Who am I? Like, how is my story going to help anybody, whether it's rooted in pain or whether it's a success story? It's like a lot of times that feeling of feeling like you don't have anything valuable to say is an indicator of some self-worth challenges or and a lot of times it's more of a self-worth challenge versus an actual skill and ability issue.
Yeah.
Like it's like, you know what you're doing. Yeah. You know how good you are at it. You know what you're capable of, but for some reason you start to have self-doubt creep in. So in your experience, what do you believe has been like a major contributor to imposter syndrome? And why do you believe so many who may not be as talented have no problem putting themselves out there and they seem to suffer far less from imposter syndrome? Like you'll see somebody and it's just like, you know, there's a saying, you know, hard work beats talent every time.
Every time. Because
it's just like when you're willing to put yourself out there and show up and show out, it doesn't matter if you're talented singing in the bathroom, like nobody can hear you, sis. So you know, like what do you feel like, you know, really pushes that, and how can people move past that and move through that so that they can be talented and hardworking?
Yes. So one of the things that I think that really contribute to imposter syndrome is the people that we may be surrounding ourselves with. If we're asking people, you know, how do you think this messaging sounds? And they a chef or they are just working a 9-to-5 corporate job and they may not know what to say about message, and they may be like, it sounds good, or they may pick at something that you didn't even think about. And I think that happens so much, especially family sometimes. And you just, you know, you can see the vision for yourself, but maybe other people can't see it. I think that really really creates that feeling of I'm not good enough, because I think that's what truly fuels imposter syndrome. It's just the inner critic voice that's giving you proof that really is just a belief, and a belief is not a fact. It's not a fact, but it's fueling that belief, and it's pointing out things like, see, you didn't get picked for that podcast, or you didn't get picked to speak at the big, you know, summit that's coming up in Texas. So I think one of the things that have helped me with imposter syndrome is finding ways to have other people be an advocate for my business and my services. And I love really taking care of my clients. They get gifts, they get, you know, Starbucks gift cards. I always ask for feedback on the copy, even if they don't love it or it doesn't resonate. I want to figure out a way to improve it, and really honing into that referral system has helped me. And I have a referral system in which if a client refers me, they'll get 10% off that project that's
nice.
That spread like wildfire, but that has given me that confidence that I may not have had I not relied on them or, you know, asked them to help. I think that when we start our businesses, especially women of color who feel like they had to do it all, they're very super independent. They're a little bit afraid. They want to be perfect in their business before they show it off to people. I think that, taking really small and perfect actions, like, okay, maybe there was a misspelling on my post, I'll just go and fix it, you know? Taking it perfect.
Well, maybe I leave it there. I like small imperfect action. Like Abu, one of my really good friends, he said he has like 3 grammatical errors on an ad that he put out. He's like, that ad has made him over $1 million with those 3 grammatical errors, and they are blatant. Because one of them is 2 of them are misspellings.
Sure made that for me, because anytime I see a grammatical error, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing business with you. You don't even edit, you don't even reread to make sure. Oh my gosh, it's such a pet peeve of mine. But I love that. But I know the point you're trying to make is like, when you're sitting there waiting for perfection all the time, it can prevent you from doing things when sometimes that imperfect thing is just what you needed. That'll be just like the little thing that makes you seem more human or more relatable. Or
that's why he said he left it.
Because sometimes when you're too perfect, it can like disconnect you. I always feel like that's the difference between Rihanna and Beyonce and their relatability and their power to sell product. Yes, Beyonce's uber talented, but the way some reason she just cannot sell products.
It's because
as well as what it seems like Rihanna's able to do. And I think because Rihanna just seems like She just seems like she knows you. Like, you feel like you have a homegirl like Rihanna, or Rihanna could be your friend. She doesn't seem so out of reach. And I think Beyonce, and she's kind of said this and alluded to this before, she's kind of subscribed to that like 70s, 80s celebrity of you're untouchable, you're like in another world, like the Michael Jacksons and Princes. She really is bought into that in a different way. You know what I mean? So I think that relatability and just seeming a little imperfect, and Beyonce, even to me, like she's just perfect, child. Like I love her, and she just seems like a goddess, where Rihanna is also talented, but she just seems like someone I can touch. And when you tell me that this product is good, it's like, okay, girl.
Rihanna's your homegirl.
Yeah.
Rihanna's your homegirl.
Yes.
Beyonce is your rich auntie who don't play with children.
Yeah. And don't talk to me and don't call me or nothing.
Yeah, at all. So now, once you have like mastered the art of showing up, so if I had to give like 3 tips, or if you had to give like 3 tips on showing up, I do want to find out what they would be. But now, once you've mastered like the art of showing up, because it's an art, you also too have to get and understand that you have to take your customers just off of these platforms. We don't own them. If Instagram decides to shut down today, you have to have a way that you can still get in touch with your audience and your people. If LinkedIn decided you can no longer post on their platform anymore, how are you still connecting with your audience?
Yeah,
and so,
true.
So for me, I firmly believe in like building a customer database that you can, like you were saying, have like the email sequence where you're talking to them and everything else. And then too, sometimes the algorithm don't play fair. So like, can you give us like a mini blueprint that you would suggest that folks use to transform like, those followers into like actual customers?
Yes, absolutely. So I would recommend, first of all, if you don't have an email service provider to send out emails, you could sign up for one. MailChimp is free. I use ConvertKit to send out emails. I think it's like $29 a month, but that is to help you get people off those platforms and then on to your own, so that you can be able to continue to have that nurturing relationship and build your customer relationship, or CRM, customer relationship data, and all of that management. So the 3 things, once you have that, to create some type of free guide to help them out, whether it's a resource or a mini challenge or a video. And another thing to help if you don't have a large audience, because I know that some people are like, well, I'm going to do that one day when I get to that 3,000 people. Here are some 3 things that you can do to help with that. So the first one is figuring out how you can collaborate with other people's products. So I'm a big believer in, if you bought from someone, if you bought a product, which I do my beginning years of business, I was just like buying, going into debt. But I found a way to come back to those people and actually use those different courses online and ask them if, they want to feature me as a testimonial, because we think that we are so like out of reach from people with larger platforms, but people with larger platforms still need their community and their tribe to feel not, I don't want to say the word relevant, but to like,
show up.
To show up. Yeah, exactly. They still like need new content and need things. So it's not like you are bothering them, especially if you bought something from someone and you got results.
Yeah.
So reaching out to them is one thing. Another one is collaborating with other people's platforms and then having a call to action at the end of an IG live or Facebook live or anything, podcast, blog, to connect with you on social media or download your guide that could be super valuable to them. And that is just a matter of sending an email or, reaching out to them on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook. And then the last one is figuring out how you can help other people's problems. So this is your network group, and then your people on social media, and then people you are like meeting it in person, and figuring out what type of workshops or what type of resources can I really provide. Because I think sometimes people get discouraged. I've been there before. I've created courses and all types of stuff, and it was crickets when I sold, but I never really went back and asked people, what type of thing would you do? Give them ABC option and then going back to the drawing board and starting from there versus just, I know this is what people need. Let me just make it.
Yeah. So asking a question like, which would you prefer? Or if you could learn
like polls and stuff
like doing a poll, like if you could learn this, that, and the third, or which would be more valuable to your business, or how would you, if you had this amount of money, which would, you need the most for which stage of your business you're in. So like basically doing market research in that way to figure out what that looks like. I love that.
Yeah. And just realizing that, there are people, your audience or your customers can be at places that you meet people. It can be at the grocery store, just never being afraid to show up even offline.
Yeah.
Too, I think it's a big one. Like, sometimes we're in spaces or you're at events and it's maybe not an event for that specific thing that you do, but just being okay with just showing up and just saying that this is what you do, telling your friends, telling your family members. I mean, sometimes they're the hardest people to tell that you're doing this new thing, especially if they're used to another version of you doing something else. So just showing up as yourself, doing what you do all the time.
Yeah.
Because you never know who your next customer is, especially offline. You could just be having a casual conversation. Throw in a little bit of something what you do. Throw in like, hey, when I'm talking to my clients, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm saying. And they're like, oh, really? Who are your clients? What do you do? Like, talk about things that'll spark people's curiosity to figure out more about you and who you are and what you do and how you can add value to them, as opposed to just feeling like, oh, I just need to post online all day or go on live or go on YouTube. Like, yes, those things are important, but we don't want to neglect real life interaction and real life sales and marketing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for dropping some of these gems and some of these tips that folks can use to show up in their business and to be, take some bravery and take a step. Especially if you want to, do well in your business, you will have to figure out not only, how do you show up, but what it looks like to serve your desired customer better. So thank you so much, Tori. Like, where can we stay connected and find you?
Thank you, Alicia Danny, for having me. And you can find me at heytoriautumn.com or on Instagram at heytoriautumn.
Awesome. You can stay connected with me at the Danny Bordeaux. Bordeaux is BOURDEAU. You can stay connected with Triggered, the podcast at Triggered AFPC on Instagram, triggeredafthepodcast.com. TriggeredAFEvents.com. We recently launched because we are coming to a city near you, honey, where we can connect with you live and in person to talk about all the things and bring our wonderful guests and friends who have the resources and the information that you need to take your healing to a deeper and higher level. So please keep an eye out for those events. Some will be virtual as well for those who can't make it. So we're super excited about that. So definitely stay in touch with us so that you can see what we're doing next.
Yes. And you can stay connected with me everywhere at Alicia Reese, ALECHIA, last name Reese, REESE. See you soon.
Bye.